I have been avidly thrift shopping for my entire life. Even before it was considered a cool thing, I was getting my clothes from the thrift store, and now that it is considered a cool, trendy thing to do, I am more than happy to share with you everything that I know about thrift shopping and all the little tips and tricks I've picked up over my 19 years of thrift shopping. Well, let's be honest, I wasn't picking out clothes when I was a baby. Regardless, I've been thrift shopping for a long time. I know a lot about how to find those perfect, stylish pieces in thrift stores. So I wrote down everything I could think of that could be helpful for a beginner thrift shopper or someone who's looking for some extra advice. And now I want to share with you how you can find Pinterest-worthy or stylish, unique clothes at thrift stores. There are a few different places that you can thrift clothes. The first one is a vintage or a boutique store where someone else will go to thrift stores and select what they think are high quality pieces and then resell them in their boutique or their vintage store. So the prices will generally still be cheaper as they are still thrifted items, but everything's going to be a little bit pricier because it's all hand selected and everything you look at is just pristine quality. So if you don't want to do a lot of the rummaging around but you still want the thrifted look, then go look for boutiques or vintage stores in your area. The next option is online thrift shopping, so ThredUp or Depop. I think you can even hire someone to go out and thrift clothes for you and mail them to you. I have never done any online thrift shopping because I just really like the experience of going through the clothes myself, but a lot of people have spoken really highly about these online thrift shopping sites, so if that's something you like to do, you could give that a try. Facebook Marketplace could also have some clothes, and that reminds me, I forgot to write it down, but rummage sales, we have a lot of them around where I live, and I used to just bike around with friends and pick up clothes here and there. It's a great time. The next kind of thrift store, and the one that I usually go to, is just a general thrift store, what you would normally picture it to look like. They just have all the racks of clothes organized by size and type, and you just sort through and pick what you want. And then the last type of thrift store, I've only done this once or twice, but it's so much fun, are they Goodwill bins or just a warehouse thrift store where all the pieces that didn't get purchased for a long time in the normal thrift stores then get thrown into a bunch of bins and brought to this warehouse where you can sort through the bins of just piles and piles of clothes, where you can find some really, really nice pieces there. Hang on. This is one of my favorite shirts. It's all unique and detailed and just covered in this gorgeous lace. I got this out of the Goodwill bins, which also they sell their clothes by the pound. It's $1 to $3 a pound, which is an absolute steal if you can find really good pieces like this. Now you do have to have a bit of patience for this because you are going to be sorting through piles and piles of just generally terrible clothing just to find those one or two pieces that are absolute perfection. But I think it's a great way to spend an afternoon and it can be so much fun. So if you do decide to go, I also recommend that you bring some gloves just because some of the clothes can be stained or dirty. I don't know, I just felt better with gloves. Now the location of the thrift stores is a fun thing to keep in mind because everyone who lives in the vicinity of that thrift store, if they donate clothes, is going to that thrift store. So if you want high class or name brand pieces, then perhaps go to a thrift store in a rich neighborhood. Or if you want vintage pieces, then maybe go thrift shopping in an older neighborhood. I usually just go to the ones in my area, which I don't know, is pretty general Midwestern people, and I still find a lot of unique pieces. So this isn't necessarily a rule, but it can be really fun to try out thrift stores in different areas of wealth and style. I think it would be so much fun to go on a thrift shopping road trip where you drive through different states and go to multiple thrift stores. That way I could really find a bunch of cool pieces that maybe Wisconsin folk are not common to wear. I don't know, I think it would be a really fun excuse to go for a road trip. Okay, so before you enter a thrift store, you need to be prepared. You want to make sure that you've eaten a good meal and you're feeling good because you might be there for a long time, and if you are going to be in there for the long haul, then maybe bring some water or a snack with you as well, because those fluorescent lights and the environment of a thrift store can get tiring very quickly. Also, I know a lot of people who like to bring earbuds and play their own music while they're thrift shopping to make the whole experience a lot more peaceful. I prefer to be present and kind of in the thrifting environment, but if you think music would kind of help you pick out your clothes, then absolutely make a cute little playlist and listen to your music while you thrift. And you want to wear a very simple outfit, not a whole lot of accessories. You can just change in and out of it very easily. I like to wear skirts, sweatpants, or just a simple dress like this one. I also always make sure I'm wearing shoes with socks. Preferably you also want shoes without laces that you can just slip on and off. That way you can try on other shoes quite easily. And if you're thrifting somewhere that doesn't have dressing rooms, then perhaps wear something like leggings and a tighter fitting top. That way you can try on other pieces without really needing a dressing room, and you can still get an idea for how it'll fit without the extra bulk of like oversized clothing. If you have the time and you want to really make the most out of your trip, then go through each and every piece individually. I know whenever I take the time to do this, I find some of the best pieces that I just know if I was skimming, I wouldn't have seen. So it really is worth it to do this, especially with things like jeans, because you can't really tell if it's a good fit just by skimming your eyes across the options. You have to kind of move and look at each piece. Most thrift stores are just jam-packed with stuff, and going through all these sections can definitely become overwhelming, especially if you're new to thrift shopping, and that is okay. If you're feeling like you don't really know where to start, then I recommend maybe making a mood board or a plan on Pinterest beforehand, or you can just write up a shopping list like you're looking for winter sweaters or a new pair of jeans. That way you kind of know where you want to look instead of just going crazy. I prefer to go crazy, but if that's a lot, then just kind of break it down to what you need. I also always look in at least one size down and one size up from what I typically wear. Sometimes I'll go even further than that. They do organize it by size, but each company makes their clothes in such a different version of that size, so I will often find things in different areas that are not necessarily my size. If you feel like you're not finding what you want in whatever area you generally shop in the store, then I'm going to tell you now, you need to be shopping in every section of the store, like the kids section, the men's section, the women's section, the skirts, the swimsuits, like, because you can find some really nice shirts, some really nice button-ups, sometimes some really nice pants in the men's section. You can also find some really cute skirts or graphic tees in the kids section that might fit you depending on like how old the kids section is. Like this shirt, I got this from the kids section, and most Goodwills I feel like have just an overflow of kids clothing that's all quite cute and also very cheap. Also in like the sleepwear section, you can find some really pretty lacy tank tops or slip dresses, so just look in every section of the store. And I also will usually take a quick look at the return rack because these are clothes that somebody else already hand selected, so most of the pieces there, although they're not always in my preference of style, are well chosen pieces. It's almost like you have personal shoppers, but for free. As you become more familiar with your style and like clothing preferences, you can kind of start skipping some sections. I never really go through the yellow or the gray clothes just because I know I won't like what I find there, and I feel like that saves me a lot of time. The best time to go thrift shopping is on a weekday, especially like in the mornings. I know that's not practical for everybody, and I think that's why it's so good, because the store is empty and everything is freshly put out. But you could also ask a worker what days or times so they typically restock the store, so you kind of know to go around that time. The closer you are shopping to a fresh restock, the more likely you are to find good pieces. Although I have multiple times gone shopping on like the last day before they restock and still found some great pieces. Sometimes these thrift stores will have these big sales where everything's like half off, and I have gone to maybe one or two of these sales. I do not think it's worth it. Everyone's like pushing everyone else. There's clothes flying everywhere and people are like grabbing clothes out of your carts and out of your hands. It is chaotic and a little bit scary sometimes. But if you think that you can handle that, then some of these deals I have found are really good. It's not worth it for me. I don't really know about other thrift stores, but I know that Goodwill has a clearance rack where everything's like $2 and the pieces there are actually really nice. They also will pick a color tag of the week, and that color is then half off, so keep an eye on that. Often when I'm doing a speed run of the store, like I don't have a lot of time to stay and shop, I will go straight to the clearance rack and then I will look for anything with that color tag, and that's all I do, and I usually find some really nice pieces for really cheap and I can get out of there in like 15-30 minutes. Now do remember that everything you are purchasing is secondhand, so really check for like stains and holes on the clothes before you buy them. I have bought my fair share of clothes that I then brought home and realized there's like a big hole or a big stain on it that I missed, and that is not a good feeling, so make sure you check for that in the store. Also check pockets, because sometimes there's like gunk or stuff in the pockets that you don't want to deal with. I've also learned to look along the seam lines of clothes, especially more vintage pieces, just to make sure the thread is still doing its job and holding everything together. A lot of embroidery pieces will have a thread or two that's starting to unravel, so check all the embroidery if you're getting something with like flowers on it. I also like to run zippers up and down a few times just to make sure that they are actually working and they're not going to break or get stuck as soon as I buy the piece, because that does happen quite often. And if I'm buying like a knit sweater, I will really scour the entire thing because one tiny hole or loose stitch can unravel the entire thing so fast. Typically, I don't worry about or care about any of the instructions for washing on the tag. Like if it says dry clean only, I will still buy it. It's thrifted anyway, so if it gets ruined, it's not the end of the world, but I've yet to have any of my dry clean only pieces go bad in the wash. However, I have learned if a piece is wrinkly in the store, it will most likely be wrinkly at home, especially because I just don't iron any of my clothes. Also, be practical with yourself. Thrifted clothes are so cheap, and so it's really easy to talk yourself into buying something, but if it doesn't fit quite right, or if you just don't think it's perfect, it's not worth it to purchase. This whole thrifting thing is just a long waiting game to find those perfect pieces, and I think that thrift shopping is honestly more of a hobby than it is just like going to the store to find some cute clothes. You need to have a lot of patience and determination to sort through all the pieces and come back day after day until you find those perfect articles of clothing. But when you do, it's the best feeling. It really is. Now, when I am thrift shopping, I personally don't look for certain brands. I don't really care if it's a name brand or if it's vintage. I much more care about the individual piece and how it'll fit into my wardrobe. However, there is one, well, I guess now two brands that I refuse to purchase from, and that is, if anything, is Shein or Temu, which does show up in thrift stores quite often now. I will not purchase it because those clothes fall apart so quickly. Thrifting feels like real life Pinterest to me. You get to sort through all your pins and then pick the ones you want. It is such a fun hobby, and I really hope that you also find joy in thrift shopping and that you're able to find the pieces you are looking for. I actually just went thrift shopping this afternoon for like 2 hours, and I found four incredible pieces. So let me show those to you quick. I was kind of looking for some fun summer pieces today, and that is exactly what I found. So the first piece is right behind me here on the wall. It is this denim like mid-length skirt with this little flower fabric on the bottom. I really like denim skirts. I know that's kind of like a controversial thing, but I think they are adorable, and this one just fits me perfectly. Oh, and this was half off too. But next I got this shirt. It's like a really soft brown crew neck top. It'll be perfect for camping or like late night summer when it starts to get a little bit chilly. It'll also be great through fall and winter. It's just an all-time round great sweater. I'm thinking that I might paint it or something to add a little extra pizzazz to the front. Then I got another skirt, and this one's a little bit longer. It's more like a maxi skirt. It is dark brown, it's low-waisted, it has this cute little tie and this embroidered flower at the bottom. I can see so many summer outfits coming together perfectly with this piece. This really pretty blue top. The sleeves are so much fun. It is light, it's airy, it's mesh, and it's perfect for layered outfits, and I got it on the clearance rack for just $2. That is my thrift shopping haul and all of my thrifting advice. I really hope this advice helped you to find some fun pieces or just inspired you to go out and check some of your local thrift stores. I am such a supporter of thrift shopping. I think you can find so many fun pieces at thrift stores. So if you like thrift shopping, fashion, or just having a grand old time, then please consider subscribing. We are getting closer to 1,000 subscribers every single day, which I am so happy about. And maybe you could also like this video if you enjoyed watching it or think it was helpful at all. I'd like to hear any of your thrift shopping tips you might have if you want to comment those down below, and thank you so much for supporting me by watching this video all the way through. I really appreciate you for being here. Alright, until next time, goodbye.